Today on Engine Power, a new Mustang gets a 900 horsepower twin turbo kit, looser torque converter, and heavy-duty driveline upgrades.
Engine Power is back, and for good reason. That table is filled with the latest power adder for the latest Mustang platform. Today, we're teaming back up with Hellion Power Systems and the guys from the Dyno Edge in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to build a true 900-plus horsepower street car capable of 850 quarter-mile and 550 eighth-mile ETs. Now, it's not just about the turbos. We're also going to show you the parts involved to make the car handle that kind of power. Our power adventures with Hellion started back in 2008 with a 382 cubic inch small block Ford. It utilized one of their single Fox body kits and an 88mm Turbonetics mid-frame turbo. It forced compressed air through an air-to-air intercooler to make 1,110 horsepower and 1,039 pound-feet of torque. Then our focus was late model muscle cars. In 2010, their parts were back on our tables to improve power in a 2010 SRT Dodge Challenger. The turbos mounted underneath the car, which gave it a true sleeper status. Now, it cranked out 484 horsepower and 497 pound-feet with only 5 pounds of boost. The next meeting caught everyone off guard with a blue Boss 302 Mustang equipped with the awesome 5.0 Coyote. Twin 62mm turbos, air-to-air intercooler, booster pump, and a MagnaFlow exhaust system spun the dyno drum hard enough to report 910 horsepower to set a new standard in turbo systems in the automotive aftermarket.
And this year, it's on a whole new platform with even more power. New body lines capture your eyes as the curves on this car scream power and performance. Big brakes and race car features like a line lock and launch control were added at the factory. Under the hood is a 5-liter Bullet that boasts new intake runners, larger intake valves, and more aggressive camshafts to crank out 435 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque.
I love yellow and especially Mustangs.
Pat's talking with Ron Booth, who owns this Mustang GT. He's been here before. He owned the blue Boss 302 we showed you earlier.
That thing was fast, it ran good, handled good, I loved it. I sold it.
You sold it? Why?
Sold it to get 2015 platform. We're going to up the game a little bit. We're going to put twin turbos on it again, some other goodies, and go faster.
Before we tear into it, a quick baseline is needed so we know exactly how much power will be added with the turbos.
All right, Hoyt, you're in control.
This car is equipped with an automatic trans, rear independent suspension, and 20-inch wheels. How much power will that soak up from the 435 horsepower flywheel rating?
What did it do back in Albuquerque?
Made 360 on our dyno.
All right, we're at 363, so very, very comparable. 435 flywheel horsepower minus 363 at the tire equals a 72 horsepower parasitic loss. That's around 20%.
Hellion redesigned this kit specifically for the 2015 Mustang. It's dubbed the Eliminator and features twin billet 55mm precision ball bearing turbos as its centerpiece. A large vertical flow dual inlet intercooler is included for big power potential. Optional 95 pound-per-hour injectors and their hardware, TurboSmart bypass valves, and shorty headers not only take this pony to another level, it's going to launch it through the roof.
So what does this new platform mean for the aftermarket, especially Hellion Turbo?
Everything up top is still the same.
These two faces are familiar. This is build number 3 for them here. It's John Urist and Hoyt Dutton, chief installer.
We've made killer systems for the Mustang from '79 through 2014. When the 2015 Mustang came out, we decided to pull from everything we learned from the previous years and apply it to this new car. The new Mustang frame is a lot closer to the engine, so we had to move where the turbos are placed and redesign the whole system. When it comes to making power, the only option to make the most power is turbos.
The teardown starts with the basics, and Hoyt will get some of it handled during this break.
Up next, the parts table clears as the Mustang gets stronger.
Our 2015 Mustang GT project laid down 363 horsepower for a solid baseline. We're going to change that to more than 800 by the end of the day with a Hellion Power Systems twin turbo setup. From underneath, the lower engine cover comes off, and the O2 sensors can be disconnected. Now all the exhaust is removed since we will be replacing it. The factory steering shaft is disconnected, and the driver's side header and cat comes out and is replaced with the Hellion header, which is a stock 2011 to 2014 Mustang piece. Reuse the factory hardware to install it. The steering shaft goes back in, and make sure to place a small amount of red Loctite on the bolt. Down low, the radiator can be drained, and the lower hose and oil cooler hoses get removed, along with several other coolant hoses, so the coolant tank can come out. The fan assembly also gets plugged.
Since this car has an automatic trans, push the cooler lines towards the top of the engine and cover them with heat tube. The alternator harness also gets modified and wrapped with the supplied wire loom. To get oil from the turbos to the oil pan, a couple holes need to be placed in it. First with a 32 thousandths drill bit, which aids the pan punch to go through easier. Using lots of grease and the supplied 3/8 tap, make the threads. Then fill them with the -10 fitting. The same thing happens at the front of the pan. The turbo's internals are lubricated using the engine's oil supply, so a T is placed in the oil pressure sensor hole. The sensor and supply line piggyback off it. The entire front fascia is coming off the car to have access to install the intercooler. This intercooler can support 1,200 horsepower. It's a dual inlet design that cools the compressed air to ambient temperature on low boost settings. It also houses the mass air meter, which goes in next. Several hose modifications need to be done. Detailed instructions show all the steps. We're not going to bore you with them. Big power potential comes in small packages with the technology in today's turbochargers. Now these little 55mm precision boost producers feature ball bearings on the shafts and will support 1,000 horsepower at the tires on that Mustang GT. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen the retaining bolts on the cover for ease of installation.
We need to replace the thermostat fasteners with studs and spacers from the kit. With the needed fittings, line and bracket, the driver's side turbo can mount to them. The drain hose is attached to the pan fitting now, and the other turbo can be installed, and the same process goes for the oil lines.
I mean, something that's just as important as making horsepower is the design. So we have the turbos in the front of the engine perfectly symmetrical, and everybody that sees this thinks it's just a great look that you pop the hood and you can see these two turbos staring you in the face.
I think this is going to be really a fun car to drive.
What are you going to do with all this power?
I'm going to take it to the drag strip and show these young kids that us old guys can still run fast.
We wrapped both of the up pipes with Heatshield Products lava wrap since they were not coated, which is an option in the Hellion kit. They get attached to the turbos loosely for now. This X pipe is dropped down between the turbos and secured with V-band clamps. Several other pipes make the run to the front of the engine compartment. The wastegates are next, but first the supplied plugs have to be installed as per the instructions. This is a critical step to prevent overboosting, so pay attention. The job of the wastegate is to relieve exhaust pressure based on their setting to maintain the boost pressure you want to run. So far, everything fits like it's supposed to, and we're over halfway there to seeing the true potential of this 2015 Mustang.
Ron's lust for speed gets even closer.
We're back, and it's time to move on to the intercooler connections with, you guessed it, more tubing and hoses. First up, slide the 2.5 by 2-inch hose over the driver's side turbo inlet and clamp it down. The driver's side intercooler pipe with a 45 on one end gets inserted into the other hose and secured. Then another straight hose is put on the intercooler inlet, and the intercooler pipe is connected with more clamps. The same thing happens on the passenger side. Finally, tighten up the compressor housing clocking bolts, and you are golden. TurboSmart blow-off valves and their supplied O-rings get attached to the pipes. They're a very important part of the kit to let boost pressure off the system when the throttle is closed, preventing surge. The task of running various vacuum lines to control the wastegates is accomplished at this time. This is also very important to get right. If it's connected to the wrong port, overboosting will occur. The mass airflow sensor gets plugged back in at this time, along with a 3.5-inch 90-degree outlet on the intercooler and a redesigned coolant tank bracket, so the coolant tank itself can be reinstalled with the factory hardware and hoses. Air cleaners are now put directly onto the turbos, and the factory rubber sound tube is modified with a steel spacer, then installed in the reworked air cleaner. Moving on, a slimline fan assembly is installed to make room for the turbos. It gets powered up by the factory fan connection. The top radiator hose gets routed and reinstalled to finish out the cooling system. It's always a good feeling when it's time for the hose to go on the throttle body, because after the supplied inlet pipe is connected up, it means we are dangerously close to being finished up. Back under the car, a lightweight aluminum one-piece drive shaft specifically for the 2015 Mustang connects the trans to the rear end. And while we're under here, a trick 3-inch Bassani exhaust setup is installed to help quiet this boosted pony car, but still flows enough to produce over 1,200 horsepower if need be. At this point, everything can be final tightened and checked for safety. The front fascia can now be reinstalled on this vastly improved new Mustang. For the final touches before buttoning up the front, the stock injectors are being upgraded with Deechworks 95 pound-per-hour units, and the factory plugs are re-gapped to 30 thousandths. Next, the factory valve cover hose ends are used with the supplied 5/8 hose and T to connect the air cleaners as well. Several other breather hoses are connected at this time. It's easy to do following the clear and concise instructions. And with that, the engine is complete. For some extra insurance, although they aren't needed when you install the Hellions kit, heavy-duty half shafts from Blow By Racing are installed. Make sure you torque everything to spec. Putting all that power to the rear end via the stock transmission is a custom billet torque converter from Circle D. Their parts are forged here in the USA and they are assembled and machined in-house. They feature a proprietary clutch pack to lock up under big power, exclusive deep groove ball bearings, and furnace brazed and hand TIG welded pump and turbine. And best of all, they are custom made to your car's specs and power levels, which is perfect for our pressurized Stang. Raystar was the clear choice for lightweight but ultra strong wheels. The tires are Hoosier 27 by 4.5 17 drag fronts and Mickey Thompson 295 4517 ET drag radials out back. Time for the grand finale. Hoyt, are you ready? Fire it, see what happens.
Ooh, nice.
Nothing's spurting out, nothing's leaking. Doesn't sound like it has any exhaust leak. We see how much power it makes now.
That's what I want to see.
Shut it on, Hoyt. Dyno's next.
Great.
The Hellion Twin Turbo 2015 Mustang is getting some 116 octane fuel and is ready to spin the dyno drums. Because of the power level this setup is capable of, the stock fuel system's delivery capacity has to be increased. In the trunk is a JMS PowerMax voltage booster. It's a plug-and-play unit that increases the voltage to the stock fuel pump only at wide open throttle, delivering the extra fuel needed. And under the hood, they added an MSD two-step to work with a JMS LaunchMax trans brake. And a TurboSmart eBoost 2 boost gauge fit nicely into the dash.
My MVT, my max brake torque.
Chris Groves, the owner of Dyno Edge in Albuquerque,
So now,
used the latest Mustang software from HP Tuners to write a custom tune. He also brought HP Tuner's new N gauge that stores multiple tunes.
what's cool about it is a lot of these kids will go out and put race gas in their car, so they want a different tune. So they don't have to bring it back to me. We can just, load a different tune on here, pick the tune you want for race gas, they load it up. They don't ever have to come back to me.
It plugs into the vehicle's OBD2 port, allowing reprogramming of the ECU and viewing of live data. A micro SD card is used to both data log run files and to hold new tunes.
Saves them money, and it's just a lot easier, for sure.
With the new tune loaded, the engine warmed up, and the boost set at 8 pounds, it's time to make a run on the Turbo Kit's baseline setting. Remember, the stock baseline was 363 horsepower. 602 horsepower, 575 pound-feet of torque. That's pretty sporty right there. All right, where do we go from here?
Oh, As Chris Groves would say, we're gonna turn it up.
Turn it up. Turn it up, boy.
I like the sound of
That's
that.
okay with you? Oh, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir. Turn it up.
Eager to please, the set point on the boost gauge was moved from 20 to 32, which increased the boost up to 10.6 pounds. That turned out 724 horsepower and 683 pound-feet of torque,
See, look at that, dude.
and did so with a serious handicap. We spun the tires.
I mean, it's blowing the tire off on the dyno.
So we added more strapping to see if that would help. We also tried a little trick from the racing world and lowered the tire pressure from 42 to 38 PSI. And another increase on the e-boost gauge, this time to yield 12.5 pounds. And started to pull higher at 3,500 RPM.
Look at that.
Even though we're still spinning the tires,
That is impressive.
we're up to 782 horsepower, 758 pound-feet of torque.
A little over 12 pounds of boost, spinning the tire, 782.
It's an impressive gain from our baseline at 363. It's clear to see Chris is not content. You think you can manage all that extra ponies there?
I think so.
I want to make one more.
You want to make one more?
One more.
Man has spoken. To end the tire spin, 250 pounds over the axle, and the boost increased to 14 pounds.
Oh yeah. There it is.
There it is. It just made 818 horse, 807 foot-pounds. I'm still always bewildered by new technology, but something that makes this kind of power and is still run around so docile, and it's amazing. Amazing, actually. Nice job. Congratulations, Ron. Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Man, you guys did a great job.
I think Ron's gonna be happy with this one. He could turn that thing down, 600, cruise around, or he could, as he said, go get those kids with his 800 horse. Either way.
Paper towels are just as important in the workplace as the tools in your box. Grease and dirt, even yourself, needs to be cleaned up at some point. Now, Scott's heavy-duty shop towels will handle it all. They're solvent resistant and up to 3 times stronger when wet than the originals. You can pick yours up for $3 a roll.
Dupli-Color's custom wrap removable coating has been helping us hot rodders change the look of our rides easily for quite some time now. It's specially formulated with easy peel technology, so if you want to change your look on a regular basis, it comes off nice and easy. And they've just released 6 exciting colors to help you stand out from a crowd. From passion pink to sublime green, changing your style has never been so easy, and it's available wherever Dupli-Color custom wrap is sold.
Holley has set a new standard in aftermarket electronic fuel injection, and adding to their lineup of EFI systems and components is the new Digital Dash. It's a full-color touchscreen monitor that allows you to check out everything the EFI system is capable of. Now, fully configurable shift lights and playbacks of data logs are only a few of this thing's features. Now, it comes in a full weatherproof case and all the cables and instructions to make your EFI system even easier to use. Now, you can pick this bad boy up at Summit Racing for right at $800. Now, speaking of 800, you need to get off the couch, head down to the Ford dealer, and pick up a new Mustang GT. Then give Hellion Power Systems a call. We'll see you next time.